the German capital Berlin, home to Europe's largest Palestinian diaspora. So it's no surprise that conflicts across the Middle East resonate deeply here. All sides have been hurting. Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel and the ensuing Israeli military response have killed around 60,000 people in Gaza, with tens of thousands more dying from hunger and disease. While human rights violations are being questioned in the Middle East, so too are they on the streets of Germany, as human rights organizations accuse Berlin of repressing freedom of speech in their crackdown on voices deemed anti-Semitic. An irony, perhaps, for a country still dealing with its own history of oppressing Jewish voices.
The country's profound sense of guilt for the Holocaust more than 8 decades ago underpins a perceived moral obligation to protect the Jewish people and their homeland. However, some are now asking whether this is leading Berlin to undermine the human rights of others.
The images are everywhere. Videos of police intimidation and arrests have been circulating across all social media networks. For nearly 2 years, Berlin has been cracking down on all forms of pro-Palestinian support.
I am here because from day one until now, I have pleaded for a ceasefire and for the killing to stop. Today is not a special day. Well, perhaps it is special because the demonstrators were threatened with snipers.
When Palestinian people here are phoning every day for dead cousins, dead sisters, dead mothers, that's the way they're being treated by the police. It's the absolute weaponization of Germany's past, of never again.
Following the events of World War II, where 6 million Jewish people across Europe were killed by the Nazis, Germany vowed to never again allow such horrific events to happen. However, today, even peaceful pro-Palestinian protest camps have been cleared by police. International criminal lawyer Nadia Samur has been defending many of those arrested.
The cases really span from defending activists and organizers against police repression, against accusations of criminal offenses, but also the struggle against demonstration bans. There's like very concrete repression.
Oyun was a migrant-led cultural center funded by the state of Berlin, focused on events that fostered dialogue, discussion, and understanding of marginalized communities.
They wanted cultural production to take place here that was different in one way or another.
But the discussions Oyun organized following the October 7th attacks turned out to be too different for their funders.
There's an event that we put together, and the panel included the Jewish Voice for Peace.
The Jewish Voice for Peace is an anti-Zionist group critical of Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. A month later, all money to fund Oyun's activities were cancelled.
There had been absolutely no willingness to discuss the importance of our work and the importance of spaces for Jewish voices that might not be the ones that the government wants to highlight, which is a very dangerous development.
Some of the country's leading media have also been accused of staying silent or of framing Berlin's narrative through smear campaigns.
Well, the media really plays a special role in Germany. I would say there is a huge gap between the public opinion and the published opinion. They create a public enemy and they create certain kind of animosities against one group of people.
Salah Said is a German Palestinian activist and says false allegations against him have impacted his life and compromised his safety.
I'm experiencing an extreme targeting by German media that is framing me and labeling me as a terrorist sympathizer and anti-Semite. No one is actually really interested in what I'm standing for.
Even German politicians are subject to this silencing. Left Party MP Janssen Köptürk was expelled from the German parliament for wearing a T-shirt with the word Palestine written on it. Nadia Samur says Berlin's measures have a lot to do with the country's interpretation of anti-Semitism, which they have adopted from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, or IHRA.
So in 2017, a non-binding resolution was passed to adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, a definition that conflates the criticism of Israel or anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. So using this definition, when you criticize Israel, that's an anti-Semitic act.
Samur argues that this inflated definition is used to undermine Article 5 of the German Constitution, which protects every person's right to free expression. CGTN has repeatedly reached out to a number of government officials for comment on this issue to present their side, but all of our requests have been declined. What we do have is the audio response from a spokesman for the Federal Interior Minister to allegations from a number of international human rights organizations which criticize Berlin for repressing free speech.
Mal deutlich machen, dass Proteste gegen den Gaza-Krieg und gegen die israelische Regierung natürlich legitim sind. Nicht akzeptabel ist es auch bei Gewährleistung von Meinungs- und Versammlungsfreiheit, wenn Proteste mit Gewalt gegen Personen oder Sachen verbunden sind oder sonstige Straftaten begangen werden. Die Bundesregierung tritt jeglicher Form von Antisemitismus entschieden entgegen. Rote Linien werden daher überschritten, wenn Hass gegen Jüdinnen und Juden geschürt wird, wenn zu Gewalttaten gegen sie aufgerufen oder das Existenzrecht des Staates Israel in Frage gestellt wird.
Anti-Semitic attacks have increased since October 7, 2023. Federal police have recorded more than 11,000 anti-Semitic incidents in the last year and a half, including an attack on the Israeli Consulate General in Munich. This is reopening devastating scars for the world's Jewish population, says the chief rabbi of Berlin.
The Jewish community has been personally affected greatly. In spite of what happened, we see, unfortunately, anti-Semitism has grown. Of course, that created a great deal of insecurity, worry, and doubt. And that's all part of the reality today. We have to have an absolute clear message that there should be zero tolerance for intolerance.
Tens of thousands of Germany's Jewish population and their supporters have also been taking to the streets against this intolerance.
We're walking in solidarity with the Jewish people and what we're going through. There's definitely been a rise in the tension and the way people are addressing the different sides.
It's about that Jewish people can live here in Berlin without being attacked.
Since World War II, the German government has vehemently committed to protecting the Jewish people, both at home and in Israel, including with weapons. But now, Berlin is facing even more international scrutiny for those supplies.
Nicaragua brought Germany to the International Court of Justice, accusing Berlin of breaching the UN Genocide Convention by sending military hardware to Israel. While the ICJ ruled against an emergency order to stop Germany, the final verdict could take years.
Germany has been the second largest weapons supplier to Israel after the United States. While deliveries did slow in mid-2024 following widespread criticism in the ICJ lawsuit, they still continue. And as long as they do, people in Germany will continue to voice their opposition despite the costs.
The federal government, particularly the state government, are really trying to strengthen Jewish life. However, it is not enough when an anti-Semitic attack occurs to express solidarity. We have to make it clear that there's only room when everybody respects each other. We're going to, with positive energy, try to build bridges and create awareness and bring people together through dialogue and strengthen that cooperation and trust.
But that diplomacy does not appear to be working. Nearly 2 years on, and still questions remain over whether Israel's response to Hamas and Gaza is proportionate. And the same is being asked here of German authorities. Germany is still working through the guilt of its past, but in doing so, are they at risk of reopening the repression, but with new victims? Natalie Carney for CGTN in Germany.